Monday morning, it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening on this Monday. Of course, during the summer here, we're just taking some Fridays off here, recharging the batteries, updating some things around the studio. So we get a 3-day weekend. Hopefully your weekend was good as well. With the storms moving in last night, it always adds a little bit of a wrinkle to what we're dealing with here in the Phoenix area with the weather out there. Of course, it's hotter than heck as well. What does that mean? Well, it means Iran and the U.S. are battling, over there in the Middle East again. Then, what does that do for oil and everything? Well, it's kind of rocking the market here today as well. So let's get into it with that Market Watch. And kind of what you'd expect here on this Monday morning after getting all the information out there on how the battle is kind of started again. The ceasefire is kind of teetering between the U.S. and Iran. Strait of Hormuz was closed over the weekend. This morning, the president said the U.S. should be reimbursed for guarding the Strait of Hormuz. Well, oil prices are rising today. The U.S. and Iran contesting that control of the Strait of Hormuz. Fresh strikes are happening out there. All of that's leading to a lot of questions around the instability, I will say, which leads to negative markets out there. Now, the Dow Jones itself is up 68 points right now to 52,763. The S&P 500 is down 21 points. Everything else is down. 21 points down, 75.57. NASDAQ's down 227 points. S&P and NASDAQ chip makers are falling. The oil prices going up are the main reasons why. NASDAQ's down 231 points to 26,050. And then the Russell 2K, the small index, barely down 4.90 right now, 2964 for that small cap index. And then there's Bitcoin. Back down again today, 1,442, but staying in that 63 range. 62,277 is where Bitcoin is as we look at it right now as well on this Monday. Then we got stocks we're paying attention to. We're going to look at the U.S. Listed shares of a South Korean chipmaker. It's called SK Hynix. Why are we looking at this today? Well, chip makers, I told you, were down. No, this is no exception. 5.57% down for the U.S. listing of the South Korean chipmaker. Well, they're down 5.38%, and that's after their debut on the NASDAQ that happened just on Friday. They were up about 13% on Friday, down 5.80% today as well. Now, Seoul-listed shares of the company, because again, this is the U.S. version of the stock here, well, they sunk 15%, and Seoul-listed over there in Seoul, South Korea on their market. Sunk more than 15%. Worst day in history for this stock over there from that side of things. But today on the United States side, 5.64% down here today. Well, as I told you, that stock, and then you got memory and chip stocks. A lot of pressure on these stocks here. Investors are taking another look at the viability of artificial intelligence trade. They'll be spending so much money on these. So we're going to look at SanDisk here. SanDisk is down big, 9.55%. I don't have this stock, but Western Digital, we will show you Micron Technology. Also, they're down about the same amount here today. Micron Technology, we can throw up as well. They're both down about 6.54% here today. Looks like Western Digital, I don't have the graph for you, but it's down just about the same amount here as well. Intel, next one we're going to look at on the chip maker side. Well, they're down 4.86% here today. AMD down, last I saw, 2.5% right before showtime. So everything in this category is down today. Everything's putting pressure on it. It's just what these chip and memory stocks are doing these days. One day way up, one day way down. What are you going to do about it, right? Except for hang on for the long ride. Later on, when we come back and look at stocks, we're going to look at MGM Resorts International. You know, the hospitality company there, making some news. And then, of course, energy stocks. I told you the oil prices are drifting up here today with all the hostilities being redone here on the market. That, of course, affecting oil stocks. So we'll look at those also. And, you know, all the main story is the battle going on over there in the Middle East and what it's doing with the oil prices, what it's going to do with the oil prices. So we're just keeping our eyes on that. But just as a follow up here, remember last week I kind of questioned it here on the program, and I had a feeling that little feature that Meta had for their Instagram, I had a feeling it was a limited time for that feature. And how limited? Well, on Friday, Meta discontinued that feature that allowed users to generate images by referencing public Instagram accounts. So it lasted Tuesday till Friday. RIP is what we'll say there. Yeah, that's how fast of a rollout reversal that was. They announced this decision in an update on its Instagram blog. Here's what they said, quote, earlier this week, we announced that one way for people to generate images in Meta AI is by mentioning public Instagram accounts that they want to reference. Our intent was to provide a useful, creative tool and to give people control over whether their public content could be referenced in this way. We've heard the feedback as this feature missed the mark, so it's no longer available, unquote. This is a billion, trillion-dollar entity company. And when they announced this, everybody went, oh, that's going to be a disaster. People are going to do unscrupulous things with it. But yet Meta was like, oh, it's good. It's good. It's good for you guys. We're going to still roll it out. Nobody in the company raised a red flag. Interesting, right? They first of all, they did. They just ignored it. So the update to the Instagram and the AI tool, I should say, was done on Friday. It removes the ability to generate those images by mentioning public Instagram accounts, but it did leave the broader rollout of Instagram's new AI-powered creative tools in place. So everything else is pretty much there, except for that feature. I was reading stories. There's a guy that does healthy food stuff, like a national guy. I've never heard of him. I don't read healthy food stuff. But he was saying that once that rolled out on Tuesday, a bunch of advertisements, people were creating stuff of him, um, putting his name behind a bunch of sketchy products that he wasn't putting his name behind out there and making it look real. He was not happy about it, to say the least. Spent hours telling his followers to not listen to that stuff, and it just instantly right out of the bat. We all saw it coming, except for Meta, apparently out there. But that is now reversed, and it's quick reversal. And that's ridiculously fast. But also, an interesting thing happened on Friday. Apple filed a lawsuit and has accused OpenAI of stealing trade secrets. OpenAI, if you don't know, they're looking to build its own hardware for ChatGPT. We don't know what they're trying to build. A lot of people think it's a phone, but they have announced they're building something out there. Now, the interesting part about this is these guys were a partnership. Apple and ChatGPT were. So now this lawsuit might change things there. Apple said in the lawsuit filed in a California federal court, they said OpenAI encouraged Apple employees it was recruiting to share confidential information, even guiding these employees they were courting how to avoid scrutiny when taking jobs at another company. Here's the exact quote from the filing. This case is about Apple's former employees stealing Apple's trade secrets for the benefit of OpenAI. Apple brings this suit to put a stop to it. Unquote. That was the actual quote there to start off the lawsuit. Two former Apple employees who now work for OpenAI are also named as defendants. Ting Tan is one of those people listed. He helped design the iPhone, Apple Watch, and iPod. Well, he's now OpenAI's chief hardware officer. And the other person is Chang Liu, a former electrical engineer Apple says it entrusted with some of its most sensitive product development efforts. And then Liu left Apple to join OpenAI earlier this year. And when you leave a company, you can take your ideas and stuff with you. What you can't do is take the trade secrets that you know and implement them at the new place. OpenAI, of course, responded and said they have no interest in other companies' trade secrets. They say they remain focused on building innovative technology that empowers people everywhere. OpenAI, right? They act like they're the clean people out there. Boy, they're just as dirty or more dirty than other people. So this lawsuit from Apple does allege both Liu and Tan access Apple's confidential company information and files while working at OpenAI. So they say they do it through the people that they're bringing over an interview. Among the allegations, Apple claims Liu accessed and downloaded several confidential hardware related files on an Apple issued device that he kept after leaving the company. It also alleges Tan directed job candidates who were still working for Apple to bring actual parts from Apple to their interviews at OpenAI. They even, like, I saw that from what I read, they also told him, the Tan gentleman, he's Mr. Tan. He said, he told people, he told them how to get around being, checked when they were leaving Apple, to bring stuff over and have access to stuff, to the point where kind of how it got caught was somebody at OpenAI emailed somebody at Apple and said, "I still have access to your, to your private database," and it like blew the lid off of it there as well. So big battle here between those two companies who work together, by the way, Apple and OpenAI. So we'll have to see where that relationship goes along with that lawsuit. And in the sports world, big news over the weekend. We knew they were for sale, the Seattle Seahawks. Well, now they're being sold to the Kolsha family. Manad Kolsa is involved in this, and I'll tell you who he is here in a minute because, not a featured name. They were minority partners of the San Francisco 49ers. They bought in about a year and a half or so ago. He'll have to sell those deals. But the team was in agreement here. And of course, all of this is done in accordance with the wishes of the team owner who passed away, Paul Allen. No kids, no family other than his sister. Now, by the way, this money goes to charity. He's insisting the sale money goes to charity. So, how much money is going to charity? A lot. The Colson family entered into the formal agreement to purchase the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, you're coming off the Super Bowl championship. They're buying them for $9.612 billion. Now, we just missed our bid. Just missed it. Just a few billion short. Yeah. Obviously, the deal's subject to approval by the NFL and to get them through. Though, if they're minority owners in the 49ers, there'll be no hang up here on them becoming the majority ownership of the Seattle Seahawks. They will become the team's controlling owner, the Kolsa family, as well. Um, but not Kolsa. He's the founder of Kolsa Ventures. That's a Silicon Valley venture capitalist firm. His current net worth, $13.7 billion as well. And he's probably not buying it by himself, but you can see that's a lot of his net worth there going into this team. He's not, he's probably got investors involved with him and things to that. But record sale here, $9.6 billion for the Seattle Seahawks. Eeh. Paul Allen bought him for like 164 million or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. And Paul Allen, as I said, the most interesting part of this, he owned the Trailblazers as well. They sold the Trailblazers, and now they're selling the Seattle Seahawks. But the interesting part of it is he's commanding majority, if not all of the money in the sale goes to charities out there. So he's generated roughly $13 billion in charitable money with the sale of these two teams as well as it's passed on, and his sister's running his trust out there. And interesting things happening also in the world. I've always contended, they always say, don't talk about your salary. One, it's nobody's business. But two, companies don't want you talking about it because companies don't want bad salaries to be out there. Because then people aren't going to apply to work for them. The best is going to move on to other companies and not even bother with them. Well, Gen Z, they're breaking one of these most deeply rooted social taboos. Well, Gen Z is openly discussing salaries, not only that, but spending limits and personal finances online with strangers. Yes, this trend encourages people to be more transparent about what they can and cannot afford. What they do is they can share budgets, financial goals, or even decisions to skip expensive plans. And they're doing that all on social media, is where they're sharing it. Now, why? Well, a lot of times, just because many adults are facing high living costs, uncertainty in the labor market, and even growing pressure to make financially responsible choices. And so, talking openly about it, the argument is, well, no, actually, I can tell you this: it doesn't mean it guarantee better financial decisions by talking about it. But what the argument is that greater awareness could help young people take the more ownership of their finances. And schools are not doing. They're doing very limited education in economics, accounting, basic money management. So it's kind of like talk about it online, get the feedback from people you don't know, and see if it changes some bad habits out there as well. So, we've always said politics and, money are two things you don't talk about with strangers. Well, we know politics is by the wayside. If you were online at all over the weekend with the death of Senator Lindsey Graham, but now money, salary discussions could be the next barrier to fall as online culture continues to challenge the traditional norms out there. And look, that's an interesting topic to me because yeah, you can kind of be, here's my goals, here's what I want to do, and then people kind of shame you for it, right? If you're bad decisions, kind of hopefully change that side of it. But that is happening, and I do say this: companies should be in a panic about this. As I said, I know a company that didn't want their salaries out because they were lowballing everybody to work 15 years ago, folks. So don't be going, oh my god, he's letting secrets out. And it's not when I worked for it. They were just lowballing everybody. And then the company that wasn't lowballing everybody and paying them per what they probably should be being made was more than happy to talk about their salaries and things to that effect. So that's always been an interesting category for me, kind of behind the curtains there from that side. And I think people should talk about it. It'll shame companies to up their pay and stop lowballing people and things to that effect. Is people don't know what they don't know, right? I'm not saying every company does it. So those of you that work in that industry or HR, don't come hitting me up on it. Just throwing it out there on that side. When we come back here at Monday's McCollum on Business, we'll keep it rolling. We got a bunch of local stories. Falcon Field, takeoff and landing fees. Are they able to continue? Well, a judge made a decision on that coming up. Bojangles is opening. We got the opening date for the Bojangles over in Gilbert, for those of you interested in that. Then we'll finish, of course, with another food story here. Never Ending Pasta Pass is back. We'll tell you how you get your hands on it, how much it's going to cost this year. We'll end the show with the food stories, of course. Come on back. I'll love it. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, here on this Monday edition as well. Appreciate you joining us this week, of course. We're live on YouTube right now, TME Media AZ, 7 a.m. Monday through, Thursday right now. At the end of this month, we will be going back to the standard 5-day window. We're just taking some breaks here during this summer with vacations and things. So Monday through Thursday here this week, and then Monday through Thursday next week. I think July 31st will be the first Friday we're officially back here. We'll get that posted here coming up as well for you when we do make it official. Of course, football's right around the corner as well, and As soon as we're done here, we go right into the main event. Well, Dale Hillistry is off today, so I'll get you going here, 8 to 10 a.m. Catch us live right here at YouTube, TME Media AZ. And then after we're done with these shows, we get these shows posted on demand, YouTube at TME Media AZ, as well as over on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media, where you can find the programming out there. Just hit the channel button right above the videos and loads the channels up, and you just pick which one you want to see. Why on Rumble? Well, for a lot of people, we got your feedback. You don't like YouTube. But two, the real Matrix is over on Rumble. It's a more forgiving platform for that type of shows. And the Angry Patriot, every week, including last Friday, new episode out on education, folks. Well, it's there for you. And I appreciate everybody catching it after its week off as well. Free podcast system for that show as well. And then the pit stop over the weekend. Big numbers for that show as well, both on YouTube and on Rumble and on the free podcast systems. New episode of the pit stop coming up. Some late night racing in Atlanta last night as weather delay. I didn't get over till about 2 a.m. Eastern time, around 11 something our time out here after a 3.5 hour rain delay for the Cup Series. We'll have the show looking back at Atlanta and, of course, in Lime Rock Park for the Truck Series last weekend. IndyCar gets back underway this week, and Nashville comes into play for the NASCAR Series as well. So we'll have the pit stop out later on this week. Usually comes out on Wednesdays before 2. Catch that on demand on Rumble and on YouTube as well. The pit stop talk on X for that. Free podcast system as well. And folks, every show has a podcast except for this one out there. Business shows can be a little difficult in the podcast system world. It's more visual with the graphs and things. We probably should try it for those of you that like to listen to it. But with all that being said, all of our programming is there on demand for you if you're not catching us live. And with that, let's get back into that Market Watch. And as we told you, chip makers are falling today. Oil prices are falling as well. And look at that. The Dow Jones has officially gone into the red here on this Monday. 51 points down as of right now, 53, excuse me. It just changed to 52,640 for the Dow Jones. And then you got the S&P down 30 points here today. NASDAQ's down 260 points. Yeah, the Russell 2K down also 5 points for it, the small cap index, which means Bitcoin right in line with that. Under 63,000, 62,368 for Bitcoin here this morning as well. And I told you earlier, oil prices are rising today. The uncertainty around the Iran-U.S. war situation and oil, by the way, I just looked it up, above $75 a barrel this morning. Trump is reinstating the Strait of Hormuz blockade on Iranian ships starting today as well. Oil, $75 a barrel, so still low in relative numbers, but definitely trending up here this morning. And all this uncertainty making the markets get a little nuts as well. First stock we're going to look at in this segment, MGM Resorts International. It's up today, 0.26% as of right now. I hesitated there because it was up about 2% when I saw it and the market opened. Yeah, so it's come down a lot here, 0.26% for MGM Resorts. Wall Street Journal reported that the company is, in fact, in private talks with Barry Diller. Diller's company is called People Inc. In early June, that company had made an offer to buy the MGM Resorts International company. MGM has not publicly responded to the offer yet, but the Wall Street Journal reporting they're in private talks as of now. So MGM up 0.19% here today based off of that news. And then energy stocks, no doubt about it. Oil, $75 a barrel this morning and probably going to go up, which means energy stocks are higher. Let's look at Valero Energy as our first one here. They're up 3.11% right now. By the way, oil prices over the weekend also rose about 3% going into today. You know, I told you $75 a barrel. Next one we're going to look at is ExxonMobil is the next stock we're going to look at, 2.54% up. By the way, Chevron's up about 2% as well. We don't have graphs for these ones. APA Corporation's up about 2.5% right now as well. ConocoPhillips, about 1.5 to 2, depending on when you look at it. Last I saw it, it was about 2 here, about just over 1.5 for ConocoPhillips. So all, of course, energy stocks up. with gas prices being up here on this Monday as well. This is going to bring inflation fears. Any war escalation, which is obviously happening, is going to bring inflation fears. Obviously, oil prices up. All of that happening, not just in the stock market as we're seeing this morning, but all around the every industry of business as well as where we're going to see that kind of trickle in to the market as well. Now let's get into some local stories that you need to know here on this Monday. In Mesa's Falcon Field, well, according to a federal judge, they can collect landing fees from pilots while litigation continues to go on. So, two flight schools, Thrust Flight and CAE Aviations, we told you about this a couple weeks ago. They're actually suing the city of Mesa. They claim those fees would put them out of business. Court records do show U.S. District Court Judge, her name is Krista Lanham, is denied the school's request for a preliminary injunction. The judge says they failed to prove the fees would cause them irreparable harm. And the reason why, I'm going to guess before we continue this, it's not irreparable harm because they'll pay the fees when they go into effect. And then if they win the case, they'll get those fees back. So I think that might be the thing. In the ruling there, the judge did say economic harm is generally not considered irreparable. The reason being, it's because you can pay it back. Yeah. The plaintiff must show it's likely that they'll go out of business and not merely possible that they'll go out of business. That's more where they lost that case as well on the out of business claim. They showed that they just showed it was possible they could go out of business. They didn't show that it was more likely. To support their claim, court documents show the plaintiffs cited the departure of one student pilot, quote, due to economic uncertainty. The judge did note that the plaintiffs failed to provide evidence to show more students would follow, and the likelihood of similar departures is nothing more than speculation. Now, the landing fees, they're not even scheduled to take effect until July 30th, so end of this month, couple of weeks away still. But judge saying no irreparable harm, no injunction coming your way. And be honest with you, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer, anything to that effect. But like I said, that makes the most sense to me because it's not irreparable harm if you can be paid back if you win the suit later on. Now, the out of business thing is irreparable harm, obviously, but they didn't prove that it's likely to happen. They just said it's a possibility. Well, every day you wake up, it's a fuel prices, right? Can put you out of business quickly as well. So, hey, APS, they're getting closer to their ruin. APS hearings before the state finally wrapped over this week, and I'm talking about, the hearings where the public can come in and talk about that 14% utility hike that they're looking for. Yeah, APS says the number is based on costs that has already incurred building, supplying electricity to data centers, folks. Yeah. But the company has faced pushback from customers who say they can't afford that 14% increase. The hearings in front of the Arizona Corporation Commission were originally slated to end in June, but it went a little bit longer due to the amount of expert testimonies that were wanting to be given in that time frame. Early in the case, APS tried to limit the amount of time people could question experts, but a Corporation Commission judge denied their request and actually extended the hearing timeline. That's where we get into July here. Now the judge will review the case and make a recommendation for the commissioners. They'll likely make the final rate decision at the end of this year for your APS people. It won't be a 14%. I'll pretty much almost guarantee that for you. Question is, what will it be? 8, 10? It's not going to be lower than 8, I don't think. Is it going to be double digits? That is the bigger question here in data centers. Adding more energy in the infrastructure they need to do more electricity to supply those data centers and the growth happening there in the West Valley and APS areas, causing all of this to go up. They want you, the homeowners, and the businesses to pay for it as well. Yeah. Talk a little bit of food here. Bojangles. Yeah, the original opening date for Gilbert location, well, it was scheduled for July 14th and everything. Well, a company company representative, I should say, they informed ABC 15, where we get this story, that the new opening date is now set for Monday, July 20th, 5 a.m., folks. If you've enjoyed Bojangles in other states, just mark that down in your calendars. If you're seeking bone-in chicken from Bojangles, which is their highlight from what I hear, will not be available at the new Gilbert location or upcoming Arizona stores, by the way. Yeah. Bone-in chicken's going to be the one menu item not available that's everywhere else in the world. Yeah. They said they've indicated they will only serve boneless chicken here in Arizona. Takes a little bit of it, which that's fine. It's fast food. I don't really care. I prefer boneless, then my hands don't get all dirty, but that's another side story. But the bigger issue here is why do we get treated differently? We're not good enough for bone-in chicken here in Arizona. So next Monday, 5 a.m. for Bojangles opening over in Gilbert. For those of you that want to check that out as well. And final food story for you. Two food stories here on this Monday for you, by the way, folks. That's how we roll here on McCollum on Business. Olive Garden. You like your pasta? You like a lot of your pasta? 6 years you've been waiting for this, possibly. Olive Garden's never ending pasta pass. It's officially returning here, folks. $100 is what it's going to cost you. Diners can eat their fill of Olive Garden's version of their pasta dishes during a promotion's 13-week run. $100, all you can eat pasta, 13 weeks to get it all in, folks. Yeah. There's only 10,000 passes available, though. Yeah. Better get in on this quick. July 13th, they announced that it's bringing back its never-ending pasta pass. Today's the 13th. They announced that this morning, matter of fact. The passes are limited to 10,000 nationwide as well. But you also get unlimited pasta dishes, never-ending soup and salad and breadsticks. How do you get it? July 16th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. here on the West Coast here, or Phoenix time. Yeah. Olive Garden is doing a dedicated Pasta Pass website, July 16th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. here on the West Coast to get this. Yeah. They claim that even 6 years later since the last time it came out, guests still ask about that never-ending Pasta Pass. I can tell you this, Olive Garden's not cheap unless you go during lunch. I actually had it last Friday, I think, or Thursday or Friday for lunch. I think it was Thursday. $20, man. Chicken parmesan, salad, breadsticks, drink. $20. Eat. Lunch. Dinner, that would have been a $60 dinner menu right there as well, right? I think so. $100, but you have to go and use it, obviously. Multiple times, no less, right? That's what you got to do. But Olive Garden says bringing it back, meaning the pasta meal here, felt like the right way to recognize the loyalty of so many guests who have kept it top of mind all these years. Yeah. They're doing you a favor, they claim, by fattening you up on a pasta as well. So now the Never Ending Pasta Bowl deal, it's back as well. It's going to run August 31st to November 22nd. That's not the pass. This is just you go in and you order the Never Ending Pasta Bowl. It's going to be open for everybody. But if you do have this Never Ending Pasta Pass for $100, you can take advantage of the Never Ending Pasta Bowl deal a week earlier, starting August 24th. So another advantage for you as well. Yeah. There you go, folks. Doesn't sound good at 7:30 in the morning, does it? But maybe it does to you as well. So, new menu additions this year, including a spicy Alfredo sauce and crispy shrimp Frita topping. So they're getting some new menu items for you for this pass as well. So we want the pass July 16th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. our time here on the West Coast. Folks, get on board if you're interested. That's a lot. Only 13 weeks, though. A lot of pasta to eat in a week. But then that doesn't count your pants that you're going to need to buy bigger. Your pants don't. Thank you for joining me here for McCollum on Business Monday edition. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. as well. We'll get you updated on what's happening. Obviously, the big thing is chip stocks, oil prices, Middle East situation. Obviously, all going to affect the markets here as well. So we'll get you updated on that tomorrow, plus all your local and national stories. Come and join me then. Come and join me on the main event live if you can on YouTube. If not, catch us on demand later on in the day, or of course on the podcast systems for the main event. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a great Monday night.